Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and every single thing in between. I'm your host, Sybil Amuti.
And I'm excited as usual to bring to you this week's episode.
So jump right into this week's episode. And after you do, head over to iTunes and leave us an amazing review. That's how other great girlfriends know the quality of the content that we provide each week. Enjoy.
It's happening.
OMG, look at the sun just shining on you. Look at God's light on you. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it.
I'll receive all of that. You hear me? I will receive every drip drop of that light because,
Jovi,
I
like this. Okay, great girlfriend. So Jovian is the mother of purpose, right? So she is all about living on purpose. And today I was like, yo, Jovian's life got supercharged with Georgie. Like, I want to know what this has taught you, because you're a woman, yes. Then you give birth. And then you like feed and nurture and house a human and manifest a whole human from the love you share with George.
Yeah.
And that just supercharges like your whole situation. And I want to understand where you are. And I've been wanting to like text you to get you on, but I was like, dog, I know she got the baby. That's greedy. Sybil, don't do that. But like, George put out a whole new show. So I felt like I could text you. I feel like maybe.
So when you ask this question of how are you feeling post-pregnancy, what's, coming to your mind? And for me, it is, I feel very intentional now that I've got to allow the new space that I'm in as a mother to reign supreme and allow every lesson that I'm getting from, like, a beautiful lesson of what it means to really raise another human from start to finish. Allow the struggles in that, and the humility that's involved in that to permeate every other area of my life. And frankly, right now, looking at Georgie, it is actually helping to soothe my heartache for this world. And specifically, as I stand as a Black woman, the pain that I'm feeling as another Black person has been shot and killed for no reason. And I look at her and I could see how I want to protect her even more. And I'm also seeing the preciousness of life. And I've been really asking God, help me to see every human the way you see them. Because if I'm seeing them through Jovian's eyes, I'm frankly cussing out everybody on site. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
So I'm just being honest. Like that's where I am. I'm really trying to understand how to take this gift of being able to raise somebody who doesn't know anything about nothing, and then help them to become a responsible human that's inhabiting the world with other people.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Because
it is.
Do you feel like it's an expansion of your purpose, or do you feel like you've seen it?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Like I know my sense of purpose, and whenever I feel most connected to who I am spiritually and like who I've made to be, it's when I'm encouraging someone else. Like that's who I am. So being able to constantly encourage this little human to like try again, and Georgie, here's the letter A, and like, yay, gripping something for the first time, like encouraging her in the most, simple areas of life is just giving me a real sense of gratitude for doing it, for more adult humans, like, because at the end of the day, we're all still little kids. We're all trying to figure it out. There's so many times we still bump our heads just like we do when we're infants or toddlers, and we just can't figure that thing out, or we can't say the words. Like I see her, Georgie, now trying to communicate words that she just can't. She's like, blah, 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 blue. Like I swear she almost said blue the other day, y'all. But you know what I'm saying? Yes. But like there's so many times that we're trying to get stuff out that we can't. And that still happens as we're adults. So, yeah.
How do you manage the expectations that you place on yourself now?
Yeah. Thankfully I had a lot of wonderful friends who had, been down the motherhood path way before me, like yourself. I feel like I was really aware of the mom guilt that happens. I was really aware of the insidious kind of unhelpful conversations that happen in circles of women around, oh, you're doing this with, expectations of, oh, you should do this with your child because that's the only way they're going to get to this and that. And
Girl.
frankly, the larger systems of oppression that exist in our country and in our world that just funnel down to an experience like parenting. So I was aware, and I resist a bunch of systems. Like, I'm just like, nah, I'm cool. And so constantly I've been trying to tell myself, have no expectations, just be present.
Yes.
Yeah. And God gave me this line. He was like, listen, the best way for you to stay on beat and in rhythm is to stay present.
That's it.
Like, just be present. Stay present with me.
Oh my God, that's alignment. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just be aligned. Like, stop trying to have expectations. I mean, even expectations for my body and how it's going to look and feel post-pregnancy. I mean, I didn't have stretch marks my entire pregnancy. But the other day I got out of the shower, and at this point I'm 4 months postpartum. And I was like, is that a stretch mark? What? Like, why do I have a stretch mark now?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I literally looked at it. I was like, bruh, you missed the boat. You were supposed to come like 6 months ago. Now, why are you invading my space?
Yeah.
What you doing? So I was like, what are you doing? But yet and still is here. Whatever. The expectation of, what Georgia should be doing, when she should be doing it. Like, I think a lot of us have lived through pain and trauma that our parents have placed in us, frankly, from their own expectation setting that had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And it was generational. Seriously. So I'm trying to, yeah.
You know what? You just hit on something major because, when you have a child, especially when you have a baby under one, right? And baby center was when I had a baby. I don't know if baby center's still around, whatever. But milestones were everything. Mm-hmm. By this month, the baby should be tilting their head, moving a finger, doing all these things.
Yes.
And it's the same way we manage our life. We're like, well, by this age, I should have this. And by this age, I should have this. And as a woman, I should have this. As an entrepreneur, I should have this. As a friend, all these different milestones that we feel we're supposed to meet. And being present does not account for milestones. Like, those two are not the same. They very randomly match up.
They very randomly match up. Hey, Angelique. Yeah, they're just not, my expectations for something could be, frankly, and I've experienced this, significantly lower than what God was trying to do. Like, yes. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. I look at George all the time and I'm just like, oh God, I just thank you. You did not listen to me and that you actually were like, little girl, shut up and sit down. I actually know what's best for you. I need you to hush.
You're a real man. Okay.
Yes. And I think about all these stupid little relationships I was in and boys I was crying over, like, no, I love him. He's the best. And I look back now and I was like, he didn't even like Jesus. So how was it actually going to work, Jovian? Was it ever going to work? Yeah. Or like jobs I was trying to hold on to. And meanwhile, my manager at said job that I quote unquote liked was actually intimidated by me and was trying to put me in lower positions. Like, come on, bro. God has shown me time and time again, you need to be in alignment with me, Jovian, and to actually expect that I will do exceedingly and abundantly above all you can ask or think. Stop setting the expectations for yourself. And I've said this online many times now, but I'll say it continually because I know it's a word. My mom told me after I'd complained to her and I was like, well, how am I going to be able to do X, Y, and Z things? Like, oh, am I going to have enough money to buy a house? Which I don't have. Am I going to haven't bought? I mean, what about this job that I want to get? Oh, what about having a baby, entrepreneurship? And she was like, seems like you've created a timeline and you've not consulted God. Why don't you just release that grip on that timeline and hold hands with God instead?
That's my favorite Jovian line right there.
I say all the time because the visual of it, I feel like if we honestly, every day, we're like, okay, what things am I holding on to? Like, am I really gripping that aren't serving me? If I just release them, wipe them out.
Yeah.
And I constantly am just like, put that out your hand. Hey, God, I'm holding hands with you. Okay, what are we doing today? What should I be focused on? Who should I be thinking about? It just relieves a lot of stress and anxiety, especially during this time when.
Yeah. What's interesting, because when I thought about, we talked about power of purpose, so I got questions from people, right? And, I realized the contradiction that we face, many of us face, is we want to not power up purpose, but we want to power up our plan. And when you got hands with God, You're like, how can I
Slips.
make this plan work? And there's so much
Exactly.
focus on plan A, plan B, going with
Right.
the plan. But holding hands with God, it just doesn't make room for that. It's a journey, and that journey is so experiential that you cannot expect to power up one plan and see a plan manifest. As much as you have to have a vision and an outcome, but having your eyes on the picture, I think that's the hand holding, right?
It's the hand holding part. It's the hand holding. I mean, if I'm more focused on holding God's hand, I can't split that focus and focus on a plan that I have at the same time. And also, I mean, this is why I think the metaphor, or my mom was talking about, grip, releasing and then holding God's hand instead. It's like I can't. If I hold on to too many things, I also can't hold God's hand.
Right. There's no room.
There's just literally no room.
Yeah.
So what do I think is more important? And if I look back over my life, truly, I don't even need to ask God for more answers to current questions, because every answer has frankly already been provided in the testimony of my past. So if I were to slow down and look and see what has already been done and the consistent ways, I can see God's voice. I can see the patterns of how he's provided, the comforter he's been, the way maker he's been, the promise keeper he's been, the healer he's been, the answerer I know it. So let me put my plans down, because my plans have actually never even been enough. They've never been tall enough, wide enough, dope enough to
they would never satisfy you.
They've never
satisfy you.
Girl,
always subpar.
Always subpar.
Never.
Always subpar.
Always subpar.
I mean, just steady subpar. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm grateful God is still not over me yet, and it's been like, over here. And for real, you asked me about motherhood. This is the real lesson. I feel so blessed by the experience. And again, I want to stress this for anybody who's listening, who's like, okay, maybe I'm not thinking about children. I don't want children, or I'm still in the process of trying to figure out how to if that's possible and if it's in God's plan for me. What I do feel is a reality is that the Creator has given us all opportunities to conceive something and to give birth to it into the world. And the maturation process of conception to labor and delivery is such a beautiful and consistent metaphor to the relationship that we can have with our Creator, and what it teaches you in terms of being responsible for your body and for what you're putting in. That way you could sustain the birth that's necessary. You could sustain the development of life that's inside of you, whether that's an idea or whether that's actually, a child in real life, whatever it is. But the idea that I've got this child over here that is depending on me is a reminder to me of how I should be in full submission and dependence on God. Like, I constantly look at her and how much she can't do, and how she's just like, she doesn't care that she just cried 5 seconds ago for the same thing. She's like, I'm going to keep coming to you and asking you to provide for me. Yes. And I feel like God is like, that's all I'm asking of you. Don't worry about how you look. Keep coming to my feet. If you have to ugly cry 16 times in a day, I'm here. I can handle you. I can handle all your mess.
Yeah, that's real relationship.
Come with it. That's real relationship. That's real intimacy.
It wasn't until I became a mom and I had to whisper to Sam, it's okay, you're going to be all right, in late hours, and then parents to them and say, you got to trust me, and all these different parent messages that I heard God were clearly like, oh, I get it now. All of a sudden, it just made sense to me that all this time.
Just made sense.
Yeah, it all made sense to me. A question came in that was really good. Ty said, Ty Alexander, hey Ty.
Hey Ty.
Ty said, would love for some advice.
Hey,
No, that wasn't where it was. Let me get that question. It was good. This is a question someone asked me and I've not been able to answer. What happens when the voice of God isn't clear to you?
I was just saying alignment. Thank you, God. I was just listening to a sermon about this. The Alfred Street. So if y'all know Dr. Howard John Wesley, he's really great and really practical pastor, I think. Anyway, Alfred Street, I'll send it to you, Sybil, so you could send out to everyone. And I'll actually post it on my page too. So friends who follow me, you'll catch it. But he talked about how discernment, so being able to hear and see God's voice and understand it, that it is essentially the yearning, and I'm using my words here, but like a yearning of your own spirit plus prayer time.
Yeah.
It is the urging of and sense of intuition plus devotional time.
Yeah.
So, and you could add different phrases if you want to, but I break that down to be me being consistent in my prayer life and in the word and in my devotion and then like my own seeking of understanding, hearing God's voice. I mean, the Bible talks about seeking you shall find, like, and there are so many examples and so many characters in the Bible and in other spiritual teachings of like seeking after the Creator and the Creator coming and being very present and making itself known. So I think the more that you practice that, like in the discipline that many of us honestly run from and shun from, because it's like, oh, I feel like I've been in my word 2 days and I don't hear you, God, where are you? Frankly, also, perhaps it's actually already been around you, but you've been conditioned to think that it's going to come a different way.
Yes.
You know,
that's
but
so good.
if you've been praying, you've been like, okay, I've been praying, God, help me to X, Y, and Z thing. If you get a yearning in your spirit that feels very clear, that's it. Stop looking for something else. The boat's already been sent. You trying to get from one island to the next. You're like, well, I thought I was going to come in a helicopter. But you got a boat that came. You got a canoe that came. You got all these other things. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's a part of it.
When you liken it to relationship, or you consider, you know George's voice. There's a scripture that says, my sheep know my voice, and the voice of a stranger I won't follow. If another man whispers Joby, you like, yo, who is that imposter?
Like I know that's not you. Even her cry.
Yeah, the reason
I can hear other babies cry, they're not Georgie.
Right. Is because of the relationship, cultivated relationship.
Yes.
And with relationship, you start to lean into a trust, a discernment, a knowing that you will have that comes from relationship. Because the truth of it is, there have been times in my past where I was listening and I thought it, and then I had to filter. Wait a minute, that sounds a lot like your selfish self. That don't sound like God, that you trying to set an agenda. So I have, through relationship, like you said, when you build that discipline and exercise that muscle and cultivate through devotion and time, relationship, you liken it to any other relationship. There are things you can say, so Jovian said X, Y, and Z. I'd be like, I know Jovian didn't say that because I know Jovian. And that ain't something Jovian would say.
I appreciate that question because it's a real one. And I think I'm at a place now where I'm being more real with myself around what I already know. Like, stop playing. Just actually, you have to do the work to get the fruit.
Yeah.
And you have to toil.
I think early in my relationship was like, wait, I think I'm hearing God's voice and not. I had to cultivate, saying and trusting that that's what I was hearing and sharing that, you know what, I'm hearing this. I'm hearing God say this. Mm-hmm. And again, it's another muscle that started to really, really strengthen itself to the point now it's very clear for me when I'm, which voice is speaking to me, mine versus God versus the devil trying to take everything I've ever desired.
Exactly. Here's another, can I give another good practice?
Of course, go for it.
Doing a prayer journal where you write down what you've been praying for, who you've been praying for, etc., and then writing the answer in the way that it came. And then looking back at that periodically, you can start to see patterns of how God has shown up. Which is another piece of evidence of like what the voice looks like, and be aware though, our God is big and it's going to do whenever, however God wants to do. And so can't be too prescriptive and be like, well, last time God, you did it like this. So this is what I was expecting. But I think when you're just trying to begin to understand, okay, well, how do I discern when it's me versus you? I think that's helpful.
So Joby, how do you know your purpose?
Yes. This question that I get all the time.
Of course.
Purpose.
Oh, and that came out of that came from a girlfriend in North Carolina, by the way. This was questions that I pulled in from great girlfriends.
I love it.
Who saw
I love it. I love it.
This was great girlfriend in North Carolina. How do I know my purpose?
Got it. Okay. Well, hello, girlfriend from North Carolina. I grew up in North Carolina, so I love that. Hey, Lydia, by the way, I see her. I love you, Lydia. Okay. So purpose. Here's what I invite people to think about really quickly. I'll share the 3 B's: beliefs, burdens, and your breadcrumbs. Beliefs, burdens, breadcrumbs. Beliefs. So as someone who's a believer in the followings of the carpenter, so Jesus, I really take into account what I believe about what Jesus has said about my life. I believe in my relationship with God. And so my beliefs in terms of my faith really help me to understand a sense of purpose much larger than myself, that there was something that thought enough about me to be worthy enough to be created. My worth didn't come from my quote unquote human expertise. It doesn't come from what I can deliver in terms of work. It came the moment that the creator decided I was worthy to be made. So that within itself has given me a sense of purpose.
Yes.
And in the belief system that I hold, one of the biggest tenets is that what I do, how I exist, should bring glory to the creator.
Yeah.
So that is one of my big beliefs. Now, for other people who may follow a different kind of faith, I encourage you to consider what your spiritual or faith teachings are providing to you in terms of a belief system that grounds you into a bigger understanding of the way the world works.
Yes.
And where you fit in.
Yeah.
So first part, beliefs. Second part, breadcrumbs. I'll go to burdens last. Breadcrumbs. So we've all had different lives, rich lives in different ways. We've grown up in different places. But the truth is, as we are little kids and as little people, there's a distinct marking on us in our DNA. There are experiences that we've had that help to shape who we are. And the breadcrumbs that I talk about are key experiences that you've had in your life that help you to remember where you came from. So if you were to pick those breadcrumbs up, they would lead you back to yourself. So for me, I could think about the breadcrumb of my cousin Cassandra telling me that I encouraged her when I was like 7 years old. And meanwhile, she's like 20 and she's getting ready to get on the stage at our family talent show. And I'm telling her, I like sit in front of her and I'm like, Cassandra, you can do this, cousin Cass. I believe in you. I love you. You got it. Don't worry. Everybody is going to clap. Like I am at 7 years old encouraging her.
Yeah.
And that's the same Jovian who does that right now on stages for thousands.
Yeah.
That's a breadcrumb moment that I have to remember. When I feel like I don't know who I am, I remember you are her.
Yeah.
You are her. So whether you're going to encourage thousands or you're just encourage that one person in front of you like Cass, listen to her. Listen to young Jovi. So pick up the breadcrumbs of that your younger self provided for you when you felt the most free, you felt the most alive and connected and sure of yourself. Doesn't mean there wasn't like perhaps fear around or, other emotions, but there is a freedom that comes with being so innocent and not knowing that there were other forces trying to stop you from being exactly who you were.
Yeah.
So that's the breadcrumb moments. And then the burden. I think that there are unique things that burden our hearts in unique ways. And when we authentically honor those burdens in a way that we provide a service to other people on earth, that is a clear sense of us honoring our purpose and honoring our creator. So for me, I feel consistently burdened in my heart when I see young women of color struggling at work. I feel that way because that was me. I remember when I was flying high at Black & Decker and I had gotten 3 promotions within 3 years and all these things. And then it became a whole different story. I struggled with the manager. I struggled with the actual content of my work, all these different things. And that big breadcrumb for me placed a burden on my heart to never want to see another young Black woman go through the experience I had in corporate America. Where she felt like her light was dimmed, where she didn't know how to navigate the political challenges, where she felt like she couldn't authentically show up without having to wrestle, frankly, with someone else who was intimidated with her own presence. And a bunch of other, the bureaucracy that's there. So I became really good at knowing how to navigate those situations and that to spend my time, or in the past, I spent my time knowing that my purpose can show up in how I encourage other people and other women to get through it. So I use those examples and encourage people the B's: breadcrumbs, beliefs, burden. And it takes work. And I would also say, here's what I know now at this new phase. And Sybil, you could think about, I look at you as a beautiful example of this, as you've seen and know your work is changing. Come on, talk show.
Come on.
You, sis, have consistently, no matter the space that you're in, you show up as a beautiful light to other people. You project a confidence and a grace combined that is evidence that you have been called into your work and that you know it. And so whether you are in a boardroom and you're working with a client and you've got a 6-figure contract, or whether you are being scrappy and trying to expand the Great Girlfriends work and you're doing lives to try to encourage the spirit, it's the same light that you'll take to the boardroom that you're going to bring to the live now. Because your commitment is to helping other people to see the grace that exists within themselves and is offered to them from on high, and that they should be a light to the world. That's a part of how your purpose shows up. You're going to do that in whatever form. So part of what I'm seeing now for people, and I encourage people, everybody who's here, is like, when you stop trying to filter your purpose through the lens of the world, you will be more comfortable in owning it in any room that you go in.
That's so true.
You don't worry about trying to articulate it for a brand. Don't worry about trying to articulate it for some IG, your bio or some story or for your website first. Forget all that. Do it for you. Do it for you first. Do it like you got to do that work consistently and recognize that it'll evolve and change as you evolve and change.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, as you evolve and change, your creator stays the same and is going to love you even beyond what you can even imagine.
Woo!
And is waiting for you to keep doing the work to see how big and awesome you can be. And you already are.
Yeah.
So I think I just want to encourage people's spirits to don't judge it before you give it.
Oh, Jovi.
Don't judge it before you give it. Just
it before you give it.
Because I feel like that's not, and that's a lesson from the creator. There was no judgment over here before. It was like, I'm going to give this precious gift of this child, Sybil, of Gabrielle, of Liz, of Kay, of Tori, of all of you that are on here. Like, I'm going to give you to the world. I'm not judging you. I'm graciously giving you my child as they operate in their fullness and gifts. So if God trusts us enough to take care of each other, which we clearly are doing a bad job at, and I'm just amazed that he keeps giving us a chance time and time again to learn to love each other better. But I think we have to follow that example of stop judging ourselves before we show up to offer our full and authentic purpose in whatever space that is. So yes, sis. That's running.
You out here. Listen.
I'm just telling you the truth.
Jovi, don't judge it before you give it.
Don't judge it before you give it.
Oh my
so
God.
that also means don't try to smooth it out. Don't try to I need to look at it and review it through this lens of how are they going to receive it? Should I rewrite it this many times? Like, Brittany, I see you on here. Do I need to change this script in order for this person to get what I'm really trying to? All of we do before we offer in authenticity what's really there. It's like you got to check our intentions. Let me do this because this is real. Say this out loud to anyone. Well, in public yet, but I've said to some of my close confidants, but I'm being compelled to do so now. So I got to go on the Life You Want tour that Oprah just had,
Yeah.
And by the way, y'all, I put it out. I didn't have a ticket. I put it out on the internet with the purest intention of, I got to go. I need to go. I need to go. I need to go. You let me tell you how the Lord works. I was up in that hole. And, and
I'm with you.
if you're asking the question, did it happen? It absolutely happened.
Yes.
Myself and Oprah had a moment, and I know there's pictures and everything, and I still can't even put it out. It's too precious to put out, but I am going to.
Someone named George said, "Tell this story, Jovian." I have it in writing.
Baby, I'm gonna tell it. So anyway, shout out to Shireen, who actually made this happen, my great big sister. But first of all, I had to be honest with the purest intention of, I want to go. I want to go. Yeah. And I'm not going to act like, I'm not going to get in my own way of thinking that, people think I'm connected to everybody. And if I can't go on my own, then, maybe I'll lose some of my clout. See, that's ego edging God out. So that's actually, that would have blocked somebody else from blessing me. So check your intentions always. What's the why behind the why, and that you show up. So thankfully, I pushed that out of the way, and I was like, "Girl, you want to go? Don't worry about this little ego that's trying to convince you of something that's not true."
Right.
I was there. There's a page in the workbooks. We get these beautiful workbooks, y'all. And it's really about intention and purpose. And one of the questions is, what's a big goal you've had in life that you did not see through? Like a big goal that you just didn't make. So for me, that's going to business school. Back in 2008, 2009, I was in an MBA prep program. I was preparing to go to business school. This is also when I had then transitioned and I was working at Teach for America and absolutely loved it, was thriving. This is after taking a break after leaving Black & Decker where things were really toxic. I am, though, convincing myself that I got to go to business school. Got to go to business school. And the question that was in this workbook brought everything back to me. It said, what's the goal? Business school. Then it said, what was your intention behind the goal? As I sat there and told myself, be honest, I finally was ready to write down all the real reasons why that was even a goal in the first place. The first thing I said, I want people to think I'm smart. The second thing, I want to have access to certain room. The third thing, I want to make my parents proud. After that, I want to be seen as a smart Black girl. After this, I want to convince people. Everything that I was writing had nothing to do with who I was created to be. It had nothing to do with what I already knew my purpose was. Right. It was everything external.
Yeah.
Everything trying to judge my gift that there's no way. It was like I was trying to put into a box my gift of encouragement, and it could only be received. It will only be taken seriously if there's business school attached to it.
Right. Oh my gosh. We've done it. Every single one of us has done it somewhere, somehow. Yeah.
Somewhere, somehow. And the truth is, I've been looking back at all the breadcrumbs that have led me to hold such a deep commitment to being seen, frankly, as a smart, competent, strong Black woman. Mm-hmm. And yes, it was a guidance counselor who told me that maybe thinking about going to Chapel Hill wasn't the best thing. This is after even, I'd done really well in school, but I still got that message. It was after seeing time and time again that Michelle battled the other Black girl who grew up in a good neighborhood. She and I were the only Black girls who were in the highly talented classes. And I was convinced, I was seeing already the patterns of oppression play out, that there's only going to be space for one of us. This was after, of course, Becky Keener, literally a real Becky that I played soccer with growing up my whole life. When I got into Chapel Hill and she didn't, when she told me that I took her spot. I can go down if I really pay attention to all the stories. And I know I'm not unique in some of these stories.
Yeah.
Where my intersectional existence as a Black woman meant that there were certain experiences I was having really early on with race and with gender and with class that made it difficult for me to process how I could show up in the purest form of my gift.
That's right.
And still be received in the world in the way that was with respect and with honor.
Yep.
Now, when I do the work, when I was able to still wrestle with what my creator was telling me and seeing that there was a contradiction to what the world was telling me, that, you'll only be able to be received as a serious speaker if business school's on your list. And you will only be able to go speak at Harvard if business school, blah, 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 blah. Mind you, all the things that I saw for myself, that I'd asked God for in the purest intention of I just want to encourage other people's spirits, God. I know what's burdened on my heart is to make other people feel better, to feel seen, heard, and valued. Business school had no way of honoring that for me.
Yeah.
And everything that I still saw, did it happen? Absolutely. Did I still speak at Harvard? Absolutely. Did I still speak on all the things
you had them.
And beyond? Was I still on a business school speaking tour? Yes.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't get into the schools that I wanted to.
Yeah.
They still wanted me to come later when I was walking in the purpose that was created and not trying to do it through the judgment of what the world said it needed to look and feel like. So I say that to say, we've got to challenge some of these deeply held commitments we have. For me, again, being committed to being seen as XX and X, that deep commitment has actually been an immunity to my own ability to change in a way that would honor the real gift. So we got to uncover what are our competing commitments. And this is a real framework. I'm using this language, but it's a real framework, the competing commitments that get in the way. So yes.
And
I don't even remember what the question was.
Georgie after this, after you done fed us all the milk and the
child, she sleep. This is where I need to be right now. I'm so grateful.
you are nursing wounds right now. Like you are completely.
Well, sis, I appreciate it.
This is
I
surgical.
appreciate it.
This is surgical.
Sybil, thank you. I needed this. I appreciate this. Like, it's good to process alone and in small groups. And then it's also good to, you know, as the Bible says, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needs not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. To me, for me right now, and that's 2 Timothy 2:15. Shout out to Sunday school. I still remember that verse.
Right.
But this is me like putting this to the test and like honoring it. Like, I've studied it. Now I got to show it to be true in how I live and how I share with other people. So yeah.
Oh, this is a great question. This is going to be my last question, I think. Do you temporarily not walk in
Girl, we
your
can do
purpose
more.
in order to invest in your purpose?
Ooh, Tori. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, T. I temporarily not walk in your purpose. So here's the thing. I think showing up with clarity in your purpose could be, there's opportunity for us to do that all day, every day. Yeah. Like I've been telling people, I think over the last year, you should still feel aligned with your sense of purpose. If you were to be stuck in an elevator for 15 minutes with some strangers, how would you show up?
Yeah.
Like, you can still show up on purpose while you're stuck in that elevator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think, you know, if you were to expand that analogy or that experience to a wilderness season, if you will, a waiting period, I think there are, no matter the quote unquote work that you're doing, there's still opportunity for you to be purposeful in how you shine your light and how you honor your beliefs, your breadcrumbs and the burdens anywhere. And so when you do that, that time, whether that looks like, okay, like for people who are trying to transition from being, you know, working at a 9 to 5 into full-time entrepreneurship or vice versa, whatever, you could consider that an experience that you have that's temporary, that's necessary in order to, let's say, build up financial investment in order to more fully experience an expansion of how your purpose touches other people. That's fine. But I don't think that looks like you not walking in your purpose during that time period. Yeah. Because even like for me, when I was at Teach for America, I was still walking in my purpose. Absolutely. That whole time. Did that look like the same thing that I'm doing now? No. Like me running a big talent team doesn't look the same as this consultant job.
Yeah. It's made.
But that money invested in this.
You are. Yeah. So yeah, that is so true. I think about, I mean, if they put you at, if they put if Jovi had to go work at Anthropology right now in an hourly position, she'd be holding break room purpose sessions.
Period. Absolutely.
And sending letters to corporate to get a curriculum in place to do trainings across the company. Yes. Or when somebody asks me what kind of like outfit they should get, I'd be like, so who do you want to show up to be in this outfit? Yeah. Like, that is a real question I would ask. So it's just the same thing for other people. Like you, Tori, I could imagine like as a designer and as someone who's super creative in a space, you bring that everywhere. Like, again, don't judge the gifts, like apply them, apply, be you. That's what people are really talking about. It's like, that's true.
Just be
because
you.
There's no date of arrival. There's not a date, Tori, where you're like, I'm here. This is the purpose day. It's happened. It's just no. There's no date.
No. But I would say, I think there are certain times perhaps where you could just viscerally feel like more on fire, if you will, and more like, oh my God, I just felt so me and I got chills. Yes. But let's also not let our emotions get us caught up and confuse us into thinking that if I don't have that feeling, that it ain't love.
It's not. Exactly.
And marriage will teach you that too. Like, just because you may not... Motherhood, absolutely.
And my
like I may not.
Job and baby just as chunky as can be. She eats, she smiles, but you don't know. And you just because you're asking questions doesn't mean you're not moving in it. Yeah, you're still exploring. And learning.
Still exploring it. Yeah. Ooh, y'all better be in here talking. I wish I could see all these comments. There was Sybil, this is your class, but is in your show, did you see there was another question? That was.
No, I missed it. Go ahead. Where was it?
Oh shoot! I'm trying to scroll up. Man, I see y'all in here talking.
Oh, you know what? Why don't we check out the question here? Oh, here we go.
Okay.
We have a question from 2.0.
Oh, George.
He cheated all day. He just cheated. How are you able to recall and apply your deeply held commitments in moments of high stress? That's really good.
Babe, where are you in the house? We need to check.
Really good.
How are you? This is a really good question. How are you able to recall and apply? Georgie, what do you think? So, when I'm at my best, or best, I'll take away that qualifier, but when I am, I think, really responding as my highest best self would, I use best anyway, but yeah, I think that's what I mean. My highest best self would want to. I pause before I act, and I pray before I act.
Yeah.
Pray before I speak. So that is one way. And I think having shared that that's an aspiration and sharing that aspiration with other people around me who I often spend time with, they can kind of hold you accountable and call you into that.
Yeah.
So instead of asking them, what should I do about this? Like, okay, how should I respond to this client? George's first response could be, well, have you prayed about it? And that's a reminder to, okay, this is how I'm supposed to apply my commitment of seeking God first, applying my commitment of, okay, I'm going to encourage the human spirit first. Like that's the call of my life.
That's
so yeah. And then the other thing, people would say this all the time growing up, like you got to hide the word of God in your heart, like the words be hidden in your heart. And I know it's, also in the Bible. The truth is, literally what you take in is what comes out.
Input and output, girl.
Y'all know this. That's Input and output. Your body is the same way. What you put in is going to predict the way that it operates in the world.
And it's so, that too, right? You see the fruit of it.
It's good thing. You see the fruit.
No stress. You see the fruit. Yeah.
You see the fruit. Yeah.
You just have to pay attention. Yeah.
So, I really try to hide things in my heart. So when stress does come, I know what to do. I'll tell y'all this quick story. There was an experience I had where I had to go to the hospital more than one time before Georgie was born, like during late pregnancy, and feeling very scared and frustrated as I struggled with high blood pressure. And even as healthy as I am, like knowing that was the case was just like, and then one night in the hospital, I'm crying, literally crying out to God. I don't know what the nurses thought. Yeah, that's right, Georgie. And I was starting to recite the 23rd Psalm over and over and over again. I wasn't reaching out and like calling for George. I literally was crying out to God.
Yeah.
And reciting that and reciting the Lord's Prayer. So, I think when you hide those things in your heart and you go to them first, it becomes habit.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
You gotta have have to have a home base. There has to be a place where you remain, you abide, and you have to have a place to default. I mean, there's a saying, one of my pastors used to say back in the day of just doing what's right because it's right, having it in your heart to
I like that.
Do what's right because it's right, not because it's even being asked of you, but just because you know the right thing and apply it. That's high emotional intelligence. Yeah. That's a great question, 2.0.
It is.
Question. This is from Gabrielle Leanne. I hope I said her name properly. Gabrielle.
What
is the pivotal moment that revealed to you that your authenticity was one of your superpowers? Ooh, I love that.
This is a great question.
That's a great question.
Gabrielle, my dear.
Pivotal moment that revealed to you that your authenticity was one of your superpowers.
With integrity, I can't say there was just one moment that did that, but I would say I've had plenty of breadcrumbs that have led me to that truth and understanding.
Yeah.
That nobody wants no fake Jovian. No one wants like my own attempt to be Jovian. People just want the real deal. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody, this filtered, that's just not it. It's not it. I'm like, I could think of, let's see. I I remember a time at B&D when I was giving a presentation, and I really filtered the presentation down through the lens of what I thought I should do and how I should present, and it didn't go over well. So that was a moment where I was like, well, screw this. Trying to be somebody else is not going to work. Did it again, just like me, with all my little quirks, silliness, and a lot of joy. And the client, these older white guys who were in construction, were totally in love with it. We're like, oh, we're buying everything.
Yeah.
That's a moment.
Yeah.
Another moment is fifth grade Jovi, who realized, and I've told this story publicly before, but realized, okay, I had a lot of little friends, but the one guy who didn't was Junior Butcher. He was a little overweight and white guy who was poor, and he was in our class, and people would make fun of Junior all the time. And I knew in my heart, like, I just couldn't take it no more. I was so tired of him getting bullied. So I was like, well, I'm going to figure out how to get him some relief and make everyone stop bullying him. So I was like, I'm going to be friends with Junior. So I started hanging out with him and tried convincing other people that he was cool. And I felt so alive.
Yeah.
I still remember at 10 being like, this is what I should be doing. This is and Junior and I were complete opposites. But that was like authentic Jovi. Mm-hmm. And so that little breadcrumb, I remember, and that's shown up in things I did in high school. It showed up in like why I ran for office, at every school I went to. And it's a breadcrumb, Gabriel.
We would have been friends in kindergarten, Jovi. I know.
Oh, girl, we would have been playing each other's hair. We would have. I'd have been like, Mom, I'm going to Sybil's house again. I don't care what you say.
Yes. Because let me tell you, I'm Sybil.
Girl, yes.
And they were riding me for my name, right? They were like, Sybil. They would have come for we would have been Care Bears staring them down, honey. Like, what?
Staring them down.
Get this love stare.
It was, oh my gosh. No, you already know.
No, but that's absolutely true. I think, like you said, the breadcrumb moments, they continually, when those moments satisfy you, when you feel satisfied in a moment where you're being yourself and you don't feel like you need to add nothing to it and like, let me dress it up or how did I, when you're not asking yourself, how did I do? When you know what you just did.
That's so good, Sybil. You're not asking yourself, how did I do? Because that ultimately, and Oprah said this during the tour too, and it's so true. We all, and I say it like this, we all want to be seen, heard, and valued. Yeah. Yeah. And we want that from each other. But what's tricky about that is that because we all struggle with ego and insecurity and unsuredness, and because we're all looking from one another, and the world tells us there's scarcity, like there's a scarcity of attention, scarcity of likes, if you will. Like if I like this post, that there's no way they can like this one that looks just like mine. There's no way that that's why it's so critical that we seek first to feel seen, heard, and valued from the one who created us. Yes. And we seek that in the safest place. That way, when you don't get that external validation and at a girl from the next person because they just don't have it to give, perhaps because they don't know how to.
Not supposed to.
They weren't taught how to. They don't know how to. They don't have the capacity to be vulnerable enough to show up and give it. You can still give it to yourself. That's right. That's a real lesson I've learned over time is, we all just want someone to say, when we ask that question, did I do okay? Am I all right? Like, do you see me? Do you appreciate me? The truth is, everyone in our deepest, most honest places wants to say yes to someone else. That's right. But we may not, for all the reasons I just named, feel like we have the capacity to do so. Right. So again, it's important to know where you got to go to a safe and sacred place to get that. Mm-hmm. So you can combat it when the world is unavailable to give it to you. Yeah. Hey, Kimmy. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. This is our last question. Instagram will put us off in a minute. Ask Mocha said, when the fear of failure keeps you from starting things, how do you get out of that mindset? Come on, Ask Mocha. You better ask the question, honey. Listen here, Miss Mocha. We've all been there. Yes. We've all been there. We've all been there. And some days Candace, I go there now. We've all been there. Yes. Yes.
I
So
could tell
here's,
Joby to start 5 times. And I'll be like, but wait, do I press start too? Is it time for me to press start? Like, right.
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
We've all dealt with fear in some way, shape, or form. And if we're not careful, fear will invalidate our dreams. It will incapacitate us. It will keep us locked and yet loaded to do the thing we're supposed to do, but it will just stay locked.
Yeah.
Here's what's been helpful for me. Instead of thinking about whatever I'm trying to deliver or do on a grand stage, I bring it back to the one. Like, do I care enough with the purest intention of providing this service, of showing up in this way to positively impact one person? If I do, it's worth doing.
Yeah.
And I feel much more comfortable and feel released from the fear when it's a one-on-one encounter. Then, I've got to make sure that this post touched thousands of people. I got to make sure this speech hits, the 1,500 people I'm going to be in front of. And what if the book that I'm writing right now, what if nobody gets it? If I write with one person in mind and write with the purest intention of like, I'm going to honor the creator in it because I know there was an assignment behind it, then that fear seems to be relegated to the back.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
And that fear of failure is keeping you from something that you really, really, truly deserve. Like a feeling that you've never felt the reward of starting and moving on that journey. That reward, you can't put numbers on it. And that fear of failure is trying to take from you the victory that really sits on the inside of you. So if you can recognize the sabotage at that moment, like, whoa, this is a sabotage. This is a threat. This right here.
It is.
Fear. It's coming
exactly.
For your legacy.
It is. Fear is a great indicator that you're already on the right path. So if you honor
no reason to try to,
there'd be no reason. No. So when the fear comes, it's almost like, I'm on it. You should actually thank the fear for being where it is. And then I think I saw Kimmy say this. I think it was like God and girlfriends are good for this. My other piece of advice, Mocha, would be bring whatever it is to trusted friends or family. So they can push and encourage you tactically through it as well. You got to pray about that first, because not everyone is capable of holding your dreams or holding your hand through a moment. Nope. So don't put your hand out to people who have not been ordained to hold it, because that's when you could be taking some steps back because you're dealing then with someone else's insecurities when you don't have the capacity to do so.
Yeah. That is so important. Oh my gosh. So important. And recognizing that your legacy's on the line. These are the days.
Facts.
It's made right here. Like, this is the legacy. This. You ought to feel real good, Joby. You didn't drop some legacy gems up in here.
I'm glad. I'm like trying to read the comments too. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Sybil. I needed this. This was so good. This was like, it was a juicing to my system. So
I'm so glad you were available.
I love you, friend.
We gonna be like sipping lemonade, talking on the porch, rocking great grandbabies.
You already know. Oh gosh. And thank you everybody for joining. My goodness. Yeah. I said, thank you everybody for joining.
Yes,
my girlfriends.
And this is, video. It's going to be available. I'm going to have to get off in 1 minute. It says I have 1 minute remaining. It's going to be available on the Great Girlfriends, so you can go back, replay it, share it with your great girlfriends, because when Joby makes an appearance, it's like no other. And she going to go back underground, and then she might peek back out. But you got to get it while it's hot.
Thank y'all so much. Oh, I see all of you, so many different friends here. Thank you. I'm not gonna start with the name calling, because then I'm gonna leave somebody out. But just know I see you.
Joby,
and I feel so grateful.
See your face, girl. We love you, girl.
Me too. I'm happy to be seen.
And I just love you. George dropped a new show. You got to put it in the comments when I ask. Yes. George dropped a new show. Make sure you support the whole house, and then Georgie gonna have something fresh happening. Just support the whole legacy. We're here for the whole thing. We're here for the whole thing.
I love it. Bye. Bless y'all. See ya.
Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_greatGFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends. Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.